Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Business Mirror's Freshly Brewed, a spin off of Coffee Club. Freshly Brewed will feature the latest business trends, and if we find something interesting, we might even dabble into lifestyle and even entertainment trends. We are live on the Facebook pages of Business Mirror, Philippines Graphic, Cook Magazine, and on the YouTube channel of Business Mirror. For our second Freshly Brewed episode, our guests will talk about how Xendit will empower Filipino businesses to go digital. To tell us more about this, here is Christian Reyes, the COO of Xendit Philippines. Good morning, Christian, and
Hi,
welcome to Business Mirror's Freshly Brewed.
good morning, Ma'am Anne, and good morning to everyone who's listening on Facebook. So glad to be here. Super excited to talk about Xendit and what we're doing to help businesses go digital.
Okay. Before we start talking about Xendit, please tell us something about yourself. I
Yeah, so
understand you're in the US right now.
yes, in the US, but we'll be home pretty soon. Hopefully, my flight doesn't get canceled as it happened a couple of times already. But just a little bit of background. So I was born and raised in the Philippines. I went to Ateneo basically from prep to high school. Was fortunate enough to go to school in Boston, and then also got lucky and got a job in New York working in finance for Morgan Stanley. I've been here for 14 years. So
Okay.
probably the antithesis of what a millennial is because I stayed in one company. But
Okay.
I'm super excited now to be back and have this opportunity to work with a company like Xendit in the Philippines.
So, what made you decide to join Xendit Philippines?
Ah, gosh, I maybe like we probably have to go back. I'd say not to date myself, but over 20 years ago. During my
Okay.
high school days in Ateneo, and so one of my favorite subjects there was called Tulong Dunong, right? And so it's more of an immersive program where we actually spend a whole year teaching students from low-income neighborhoods in public high schools.
Okay.
And the highlight of that towards the end of the year is you actually immerse yourself and you go to their neighborhood to see kind of like how they live and how the other
Okay.
side lives, basically. And so for me, so the student that I had, her name is Jenny. She was from San Mateo, so it's near UP,
Mm-hmm.
back there. And so, she's from a challenging neighborhood, of course. Unpaved roads, lack of running water,
Mm-hmm.
makeshift homes, and so that's where I met her mother. So she was a single mom, Manang Lina, and
Okay.
basically the way she provided or made a living was she hustled every morning, starting at 5 a.m. and made bibingka and sold it in front of her house.
Okay.
And so I distinctly remember, it's probably the best bibingka I've ever had. It's
Oh, okay.
I still think about it every day. I don't know if you like bibingka,
Yes, yes, I
but
do.
I'm a big fan. So when I had it, I think I remember I had like three, and I was trying to pay her for it because that was probably her profit margin already for the entire day. But she was so
Okay.
generous and she didn't want to accept my payment.
Okay.
And that's kind of where it was kind of mind-boggling for me when I thought about it because um, here you have someone like Manang Lina
Okay.
who works hard, um, who has a great product, who has sort of the entrepreneurial spirit that you require to succeed in business. Um,
Okay.
sorry, yeah, and you know she has kind of like all the ingredients of being a successful entrepreneur. But how
Okay.
come she still can't increase her standard of living? And that was the more I thought about that, the more sort of I concluded that it was really all about access for her,
Okay.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
it had nothing to do with her, but it's basically her ability to just gain access to a bigger market, gain
Okay.
access to a neighborhood who can afford her products or are willing to pay more, gain access to capital so she can grow her business and buy more inventory. So, all these things, it kind of just stuck with me and it kind of just became the inspiration of like how or what kind of impact I would want to have in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward, after working here for 14 years, I was trying to chart my path back to the Philippines and sort of
Okay.
really try to work on this inspiration, right? And so I knew I wanted to be somewhere in tech. So my younger brother is basically a serial entrepreneur in the tech scene as well. He was a founder for a grocery online shopping startup, and now he's
Mm,
also a COO for an online storage on-demand storage company called Cajon. And so
okay.
I knew I wanted that kind of life he had. So he was like an inspiration, someone I looked up to. In
Okay.
addition, I wanted to be in finance because I wanted to use my skills that I've built out over the years to
Mm-hmm.
kind of. And so serendipitously, I was talking to my friend one time in Zoom trying to catch up, and his wife kind of just butts in the conversation and hijacks it. It was Yang Yang, so my partner in yeah, so Yang Yang, my partner in Xendit, who has done so much, like so many amazing things, and we're basically responsible for how far we've come right now in the Philippines.
Okay.
And she just started talking about Xendit and what they do, and
Mm-hmm.
how they're building, the digital infrastructure for the first time in the Philippines, and how they're giving access to all the man and Dinas in the world or
Mm-hmm.
in the Philippines, and how they can help businesses like that grow and contribute to the Philippine economy. And when
Okay.
I heard that, it really just kind of hit or struck a chord, and it drew me back to those memories when I was in San Mateo with
Mm-hmm.
Manandina, and
Mm-hmm.
I knew this is like my sense of purpose that I needed to follow. And it's basically a mission that I wanted to be part of, and so
Okay.
that's kind of what led me here back to the Philippines.
Okay. And it's a good excuse for you to come home.
It's going to be an excuse. Yes, my entire family is all there, so I don't know if they're listening, but if they are, hello to everyone. My first
Okay.
podcast ever.
Oh, you're doing well so far.
Thank you.
So, did Yang Yang give you any marching orders
Yeah,
for
so
you at Send It? Yeah.
sure. I think marching orders. I think in the startup life, basically, it's just do everything that you need to do to make sure the company succeeds and achieves their mission.
Okay.
But specifically, for me, I think it's really all about helping our business scale and
Okay.
really build out our operations, right? And so typically, what you're going to see in new markets or in the startup world, if you have if you have product fit, or if you have an addressable market, it's not really hard to grow your business and find customers. What's harder sometimes that people overlook is how do you make sure you have the operations to actually be able to keep up with that kind of momentum, right? And they're
Mm-hmm.
basically that's the your operations becomes your upper bound for growth. And
Okay.
so sort of my mission really is um, you know we want to make sure all our processes are streamlined. We have standard operating procedures.
Mm-hmm.
um, for example, like our merchant onboarding, right? And so as we continue to grow and scale up, as we actually get more and more SMEs signing up, we don't want to just hire more and more people to actually facilitate those applications or
Mm-hmm.
onboarding. So we're investing a lot in technology, um, machine reading technology to read the documents, streamlining the identification systems so that whether it's onboarding 10 merchants per day or 100 merchants per day, our
Mm-hmm.
business is not going to break, and we're continuing to support and provide the customer experience that we want to provide.
Okay. Can you tell us what are the services that you offer to our SMEs?
Yeah. So basically, the way I would break it down is sort of like we have five buckets, right? And
Okay.
so we have um, basically bank transfers or direct debits.
Okay.
We have basically credit cards, and
Okay.
also we have OTC payments, or basically where you have physical cash that you deposit in certain branch locations. And then we also have e-wallets. We're the first one to offer the most comprehensive e-wallet suites with the three majors, like GrabPay, GCash, PayMaya, um,
Okay.
and a couple other ones that are soon to follow. And then the last, I think we're also a pioneer when it comes to the buy now, pay later scheme. And so
Mhm.
we partnered with Bill East. I think that's a great product in terms of just helping our merchants access or tap a broader market, but also assist customers who have liquidity concerns, short-term liquidity concerns, if they have major purchases or unexpected purchases that they want to pay for.
Okay. Can you enlighten me on this? Because for me, there's already Gcash and then there's already PayMaya. There are already a lot of e-wallets around in the market. So why should I, as an SME, avail of the services of Xendit when I can already easily do those things in PayMaya, in Gcash, and in the other e-wallets that are around?
Sure. Maybe just one part of it is
Okay.
maybe taking a step back is one. It's basically the comprehensive services we offer, right? So if
Okay.
you're a business, you want to make sure that you are addressing the entire market as much as possible.
Okay.
And since e-wallets is the even though e-wallets is basically e-wallets is one of the fastest ways of or fastest growing payment methods in the country.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is there's still a big portion of payments that are being facilitated in other means. So
Mm-hmm.
as a business, I think one thing to keep in mind is you don't want to just limit yourself into just within the e-wallet ecosystem or a single payment method because you might be missing business for other people who don't actually use that payment method. Zooming in on the e-wallet side, so I think similar to sort of that argument, when you are trying to address the market, you can't just go with one e-wallet. You probably want to have as many as you can so that you
Okay.
can basically reach as many customers as you want. And so what Xendit does is we're able to consolidate all of that so that you don't have to go through three different pages to track your payments to see if this person has already given has already paid the invoice that you asked them to pay for, and
Mm-hmm.
you can do this all in a seamless way in this product, in this dashboard product that we offer.
Okay. So that's the question of my boss, Mr. Fad Kabangon. So what's the difference between Send It and Gcash and PayMaya? So that's the question I asked kanina. I hope that the answer will be okay with him. And then there's another question here. Baka you want to answer it na rin. Is this
Yep.
for B2B transactions?
So Xendit is basically a B2B business. So
Okay.
what that means is what we do is the services that we provide is basically to businesses and merchants, so that
Okay.
merchants can accept payments from their customers, right? And
Okay.
so there are different ways on how that can, or and different frameworks on how that can happen. Some businesses will have their own websites. So if a business has their own website, you can just embed our payment pages or white label it and make it
Okay.
seem like it's your own business. And then you'll see
Mm-hmm.
all the different options there. Everything that we talked about from bank transfers, e-wallets, and all the buy now pay later schemes. So that's one way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Others, if you're a social seller, you don't really have a fully fledged technology team that maintains a website. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what you can do is you can use sort of our invoice product. So our invoice product is basically once you've agreed a transaction, you don't even have to be a business that's online. Say you're selling caldereta in your neighborhood, and then you want to collect
Mm-hmm.
payment. What you can do is you can just use our systems and generate an invoice, a link to the person. You can send it over text, over email, and it will pull up a page powered by Xendit, and then they can
Okay.
pay through all those different payment methods.
Okay, got it. So it's more like a financial solution that you offer to
Yes, financial solutions that we
to
offer.
small businesses.
Yep, yep, and it's all as an emphasis in my market here. It's a one-stop integration. You don't have to do multiple connections. You don't need to
Okay.
have a tech team. You can just do it all in one page, and
Okay.
even just one website in our dashboard.
Okay. And there's another question from the boss. Where is that? There. Is there a maximum amount you can send?
There is a maximum amount. It varies from partner to partner. So it all depends. Sometimes it ranges from 10,000 pesos to 20,000, or in certain cases, some even to millions. So it really depends depending on the channel or the partner that you're speaking to. But for the most part, collecting payment from we haven't had any issues in terms of max payment or max amounts of
Maxing out the
BTC.
payments. Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you have consumer facing products or you're a merchant facing
Mhm.
products direct to consumers.
Okay. Looks like we have a very interactive audience this morning. We have a lot of questions coming in already. Here's
Yeah,
another one from Maricel Valdez Davat. How are you addressing infrastructure inadequacies, especially in the rural areas?
yeah. So I'm glad you asked about that, Maricel. So basically, for us, the way we're addressing, especially in a country like the Philippines, right, where we're fragmented and we have these different islands, and
Mm-hmm.
so the way we're addressing that is simply building the digital infrastructure, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the digital infrastructure allows us to, cross those borders without having to go across it physically, and so we're building all these different payment connections.
Okay.
We're incorporating like this vast network of different OTC locations that people can actually submit payments to or also collect payments,
Okay.
and especially in the rural areas where there's not much access to banks or bank
Mm-hmm.
accounts,
Mm-hmm.
there are less branches. The
Yes.
way we've been able to help that quite a bit is using our e-wallet offering.
Okay. Here's another question before we tackle the other question. Good morning. How many SME applications are you receiving in a month? How many are already onboarded, and are you expecting more? Thank you.
Yeah. So thanks, Ron, for that question. So I'm glad to say, we actually have recently started our focus in SME market. I think in the beginning of the year, and admittedly, it was a slow start in the beginning, but we've actually started gaining momentum and traction, and we are already in the hundreds of SMEs onboarded, and we think there's a lot more growth that we can see there. For now, we want to make sure that basically, as we onboard more SMEs, we're creating the relationships, we're
Okay.
listening to uh, what their pain points are, and learning from that experience, and sort of go through that iterative process, so that as we refine our products more,
Mhm.
the products are easily absorbed by the SMEs, or the SMEs that we're going to onboard going forward.
Okay. There's another question from Aldwin Morales Tolosa. Can you explain more about the buy now pay later scheme that you offer?
Sure. Thanks, Alvin, for that question. So, buy now, pay later scheme. So, I think this is not, just to be clear, for
Yeah.
folks who are hearing this for the first time, this is not like a high interest rate loan that we provide
Mm-hmm.
to consumers, right? So, the buy now, pay later scheme is, I think, an ingenious way of addressing problems on both sides of the transaction. One one in the merchant side, one in the consumer side, right? And so the way this works, Aldwin, is when we offer this, if a merchant subscribes to this payment scheme,
Mm-hmm.
say someone wants to buy, their electric fan broke in the house, right? And so they need to buy something, and it's maybe like 2,000 pesos. And for certain folks, 2,000 pesos is a huge unexpected cash flow event, and that might
Mm-hmm.
you may not have that on hand because you're still waiting for your paycheck coming from the
Yeah.
next month, or maybe you're a business that you're still waiting, for other cash flow events to come in. And so what this does is when you partner with Bill East, for example, you can offer installment pay methods for that at the point of purchase. So as soon as
Mm-hmm.
the person clicks, "I want to buy this electric fan," you'll have the option, pay for it in 4 installments in a year. And once you're approved, that's pretty much it. It's as good as paid, and there's no interest. So you still pay, an
Okay.
installment of, let's just say 500 pesos in 4 installments. The way this works, though, the reason why you don't have to pay interest is basically the cost burden is on the merchant side.
I
The
see.
merchants are the ones who are paying the provider to provide this type of service, and they're basically paying a small fee to be able to give visibility for their customers. In terms of the problem that it's trying to solve, one, right? So, in the merchant side, if that person didn't have the cash, they would just not bought the electric fan. May just wait until the end of the month, or they may just forget about it and not even buy it at all.
Mhm.
So this allows you to make sure that you can capture your customer's interest at that point in time. On the customer side, it's basically like a no interest, zero interest loan. Just really
Mhm.
assisting them, especially with the folks that don't really have uh, the even cash flow to be able to afford these major purchases like this.
Okay, here's another one. How do you deal with the common issues such as lack of trust, low transparency, and security breaches? This is from Chris Galit of
All right.
Filipino Mirror.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for the question. So, yes, I think the lack of trust is definitely something that is we've heard sort of in the digital market. What I can say there is, I think the lack of trust is not so much because there have been events where, or the events are have been a lot of, negative connotations or anything like that. It's really more
Mhm.
about it's a new thing. It's a new offering to the market and going digital. And so, naturally, if something is new, people just have an adverse trust for it. And so, part of our mission is making sure that people are educated and understand, how secure the transactions that we offer, right? So, for example, in credit card transactions, we employ, world class technology, 3DS, to make sure that we're validating the credit cards and ensuring that we're accepting the payments in the most kosher way. Secondly, for example, we have this product called Zen Shield, and what we do is we monitor in various levels the transactions that are going through our platform, and we're able to flag, which ones are questionable or identify which ones that are potentially fraud, and we work with our merchants to identify them.
Okay, let's see. Sir Anton has a follow-up question to his earlier question. What about friction cost? If, for instance, you pay 100,000 and more, a
um,
fraction cost. No. Mhm.
Sorry, can I just get what do you mean by sort of friction cost? Like, so what is the fee for that in
Yeah, I
terms of?
think what's the admin fee that
Okay.
will they incur if they send a 100,000 pesos and more?
Yeah. So, like I said, in terms of friction costs, it will vary from provider to
Mhm.
provider. In certain cases, some providers will just charge a flat fee,
Okay.
um, and as low as 15 pesos depending on the amount. And then for large
Okay.
transactions like this, you may be charged more of a percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in that case, I don't even think about it as a friction cost. To be honest, for me, it's
Mm-hmm.
more of a convenience cost, right? So
Convenience cost.
imagine if you had to pay 100,000 pesos from someone. If you're a business in Cavite and you're trying to send the payment to someone in Quezon City, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what would that entail? That you would have to go drive to the bank, make a withdrawal, right? And then you would have to go drive from from Cavite all the way to Quezon City and back. If you think about that, the time that you spent and also the
Yeah.
gas and the hours of
Mm-hmm.
travel
Mm-hmm.
that you would spend, that's the friction cost, right? And so that's the convenience that you're paying for.
Okay, got it. So here's another one from Maricel. Do you plan to be the next super app like Momo of Vietnam?
So thanks for Marcel. I think that's a great question. But I think that's the Xendit mission is really to be the company that empowers businesses grow, right? And so for us, I know it doesn't sound that sexy. We're not. It's not like we don't want to be, the app that everyone is seeing and has all these business bells and whistles. That is not our core competency. Our core competency is, providing really innovative, reliable, and scalable payment products for other businesses. And I think that's our DNA. That's our mission, is to empower the business. We think we can contribute to the economy more than be a
Mm-hmm.
consumer facing business. And so we've been really focusing a lot of our efforts there, right? So our goal when we think about success in Southeast Asia, or in the Philippines. We want to be known as the payment gateway that powered the first ever unicorn for the Philippines, and helped them grow from when they were still doing 10 transactions a day to 100,000 transactions per day. That's where we see we're making the most impact.
Here's another question. No, the questions are coming in. Ay, sorry. Asan yung kay Ed, no? Ed? Kay Edwin. Sorry. Nasaan na yun? Ayan, good. Yeah. Comment from Edwin Salyan. Good morning. Innovative payment infrastructure is always welcome, especially in these challenging times.
Thank you, Edwin. We're trying our best. Hopefully, our Filipino constituents, Filipino businesses out there are seeing the fruits of our labor.
Okay, here's another question from Chris Jerome Sanji. Do you offer lower transaction fees compared to other payment gateways?
Hey, Chris. Thanks for the question. And what I would say is, we do. If you look at our website, we do offer really competitive rates. Especially for businesses that are, growing, we have a lot of we're really focused on making sure that the fee is not the reason why you wouldn't work with us, right? And so we have standard fees, but we also are willing to work with you in terms of finding the optimal way on how we can cost out our services depending on your business's needs.
Okay. Now, I will be the one to ask naman my question. We are now in the third quarter of 2021. So how has Xendit been doing, and how do you see Xendit Philippines ending 2021?
Yeah. So, you know, the pandemic has really accelerated the digital shift, and
Yes.
so a function of the Filipino resilience and trying to evolve. I think this is a function of the Filipino resilience trying to evolve, right, and
Mm-hmm.
trying to keep up with these difficult times. And so, if you look at any digital metric, even e-wallet adoption or online marketplaces, we've seen a lot of growth there. So, thankfully, we've been great beneficiaries of that trend. We've seen strong volumes on the back of that, and our client base has grown significantly as well. We have seen healthy uptick across the board from our enterprise client that remains, steady growth trajectories, and we're getting more and more inquiries from startups and from the SMEs and individual sellers. Really starting. Our focus there is really starting to pay off.
Mm-hmm.
As the pandemic continues, we're seeing more and more interest from individual sellers. And I think the individual seller space or the SME space is really going to continue.
Okay.
Going to continue during these challenging times.
Okay. So we're almost ending our session here, Chris. Christian, it's been a very productive morning, and I'd like to ask you for your final statement before we say
Yeah.
goodbye.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you to the audience. I know it's 10:30 now there. Thank you for taking time out of your valuable day, trying to listen and hearing our story in Xendit. Secondly, I've lost touch, but I hope if Manang Lina is listening out there, I just want to say you're the inspiration for what we're doing today. So thank you so much. And I want to give a shout out just to my parents because this is probably the first time we're ever seeing a podcast. And also the Xendit team. The Xendit team, we have a great crew here. The team works so hard, and we're also mission driven and really, really want to make an impact. So that thank you for all your hard work and efforts, and so excited to be working with everyone. And as just a last plug, Xendit is quickly growing. We have a lot of open positions. We have engineering in the business side. So please reach out to us. Come to our website, Xendit, careers, and also even just drop me a note, or anyone else, just drop a note in the chat, and we'll be happy to hear if you have any thoughts. And also for the merchants, um, if you want to learn about anything in terms of our initiatives, please reach out to us. We have information on our website, and we're also about to roll out an initiative focused on our SMEs. As a teaser, a lot of free fees there, and you'll hear more once come September. So thank you so much, everyone. And we hope to hear from you again. And thank you for having me, Ma'am Anne.
Okay, thank you so much, Chris, for your time. And I know you have to report for work already. So I'd like to say thank you to our production team, Ed, to Bricks, and to Boss Anton, who was here earlier, to the BM sales team. Thank you very much. And we'll see you again next week for another session of Freshly Brewed.
Great.
Goodbye, everyone, and see you next week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Christian.
Thanks, Ma'am Anne.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Take care.
Take care.